Wow, welcome to Hot Takes with Chatter Chats, but there's no hand holding. We deal with facts, not emotion. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification if you haven't already so you can be alerted when we go live and things of that nature. The trade deadline is coming soon. What does it mean for Brandon Ingram's future? Let's talk about it. Yo, return to Mac. You know I'll be back because I am not a fair weather fan. Here, consistent. Yo, so the trade deadline is rapidly approaching, and of course we've been hearing a lot of names thrown out there: OG Anunoby, Malik Beasley, John Collins, Bojan Bogdanovic, to name a few. Some other names that I don't want to say they're not worth mentioning, but it's kind of like it's a bit of a long shot, right? I think what happens at this deadline and leading up to the deadline is very telling and very critical of how this front office views Brandon Ingram's future with the organization. And I say that because I want y'all to just think about this, right? Let's be objective. Forget about last year. Let's just forget about the injuries. Let's forget about everything. Let's just be objective, right? Okay. John Collins, for example. Do you guys really think that this front office believes that John Collins is the missing piece on this team, right? John Collins is the guy you go into the luxury tax for, or you pay even a higher tax penalty for, right? You'd still be counting on Brandon and Zion to be healthy, even if you did get John Collins, right? Solid guy, having a down year, right? If you get John Collins, I have to think it's for two reasons. One, because he would be a cheaper trade acquisition. Like, you won't have to give up a lot of assets to get him. Two, I think that's you securing your 5 position. And the next move is going to be to try to give you a little breathing room with the tax. And I think that next move would be to move Brandon either for assets, for a guy on his first contract, maybe headed toward a second contract, a prospect type guy, and draft assets. Or, maybe you combine Brandon's salary with a couple other people and maybe some assets, and you just swing for the fence. You try to go get a Luka, you try to go get a Joel Embiid if possible. It's probably a long shot. Or even you go after Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? But with OG Anunoby, I think maybe you may view him as the successor to Brandon Ingram, right? I know Brandon's young, so he's like a successor. Yeah, a successor to Brandon Ingram, right? I think you may view OG Anunoby as a guy who's, he's had his injury concerns as well, but he's probably going to be cheaper. I think he's younger. He can give you some offense, and you've seen this team succeed without Brandon this season, and it was a short sample size, 7-game win streak, but I think if you go after a guy like OG, you're doing it with the intentions to move Brandon this offseason, right? And look, ideally, it all works out. Brandon plays great the rest of the year. He's healthy. He agrees to his extension, and you go from there. Everything's gravy, right? But realistically, I think the writing's on the wall, and I do think this is Brandon Ingram's last season here, right? Regardless of the outcome of the season, I think this is Brandon's last season here. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting, and even let's say Gary Trent Jr., right? You go get Gary Trent Jr., you sign him to an extension. What does that say about Brandon? I don't know. I think that may push a guy like that. That might push the Brandon Ingram thing until the next deadline, until the next draft trade deadline. I do believe that Brandon's here to the next deadline at the latest, right? At the latest. But I think Brandon leaving is inevitable. And it's not because I want him gone. I think it's more so because, ideally Brandon is the perfect fit, but you have to be available. This front office can't invest $60 million, $60 plus million into two guys who are always injured. You're going to have to choose one. And I think you're going to choose the one who can succeed independently of the other. And that would probably be Zion. Zion gives your team the best chance for success. Your team has the highest ceiling with Zion. That's just the long and short of it, sadly. Or, positively, depending on how you feel about Brandon. A message from our sponsors.
This podcast is sponsored by the Birds Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media, located at 918 Porter Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident, and be sure to mention we sent you. Birds Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media.
Touch that dial. I got one more for you. 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championships, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Not a new customer? You can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout. Boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT, B-O-O-T. New customers can bet just $5 on conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT, B-O-O-T. And again, this is not an indictment of Brandon Ingram's talent. He is a talented player, but it's all about availability and, which player is more talented or which player gives you the better chance for success. I think I think Zion is at his best minus Brandon from what we've seen, and that goes to show you that it doesn't take much to maximize Zion. Maybe you don't need a Brandon Ingram to maximize Zion. Maybe you can get a guy who's a little bit lesser of a player or cheaper of a player than a Brandon Ingram and still get the same result. But we shall see. So stay tuned. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm out.